I wanted to touch base in, I suppose, in reference to the video I just did yesterday, which was talking about, is there law in Western Australia, or talking about the government's one law for me and another law for thee, or the other way around, however you want to say that. And there's a few comments that keep being raised, and I suppose it fits into the basics of how I see it as a way to get through these troubled times. Not going to be easy. It's a very, in my view at least, a very pragmatic approach to the situation we've got, and it needs a bit of explaining to get to that place. To start off with, I suppose the conversations about law and the political process and all that side of things. There is lots of relevant details in there, and maybe legally wise, there are things that could actually be used in some sense. There certainly are specific instances, the likes of what Kate's up to, with specific instances. They're talking about taking on cases where people have been unjustly treated. There is potentially class actions and things like that down the road. But there's a lot of expense attached to that, and it's not by any means a straight slam dunk that those rules are broken and you can get it sorted out here. And there's the reason for that. So the legal side of things, yes, very relevant, but it isn't the fix. Not in my way, it isn't the fix. The political side of things. Now, obviously the government is what's causing this, and the unelected and elected parts of our government have caused this problem. And it's for the firearms, it is what we're talking about there. But this happens everywhere, all over in the four-wheel driving, in fishing, in farming, in the communities, in the councils, all over the place. We have where unelected and elected government are making decisions for the people, regardless of the people. And to get the good guys in government, which there are, and we know we have good guys in government that are on our side, to get them, there's the logic of, if we do the right thing by them, get them more on our side. There's lobbying, all that side of things. There's even the voting, get the right people in, that will fix it. No, that won't fix it. Yes, it is very relevant. Yes, they're good things to do. The likes of the submission, yes, it's a very good thing to give people a full understanding. The likes of the submissions, the negatives that it's causing, the positives, which the firearm community is, the just and unjust side of things, all those things, all very relevant to put forward. But to consider that the political angle is the fix, no, it isn't. Not in my opinion, it isn't. Not by itself, it's not the fix. There's also comments of, and I suppose it moves into partly where I see the fix is, well, and I suppose I'll explain it properly. The fix is a lot bigger thing than Australians realise, in my perspective. There's comments that say mass non-compliance. That'll fix it. If we all don't do it, then if we all don't hand in our firearms, then what do? They can't take us all to prison. Well, yes, they sort of can, but that's not how this sort of government would do things. It's not how this country and a lot of countries like ours do things. They will pick off the individuals. They will severely hurt the individuals. They will make an example of those people. So is there enough people that are strong enough to be able to go through that process and potentially destroy their lives, create criminal records, all those sorts of things for this? Or obviously, in most cases, I'll just give up my firearms. Other things matter more than just my firearms. Now, in the perspective, there's people that say, well, listen, firearms, if they take your firearms, what else is worth it? Because that means so much more. And yes, you're right. But I suppose where I'd have to say there is that it's most obvious when I talk to the range, talk to people around the place. And when I talk to Aussies, there's a lot of frustration, there's some desperation, there's disbelief, there's this logic that there should be, the government, the common sense, law, something should be right, because this is so wrong. Something should sort this out. And what should be obvious by now, no, nothing is sorting this out by itself. Nothing is coming to save us. We have to do more. I'll get into that a little bit more. But what I was actually talking about there is when I start talking to people from other countries and from other parts of the world, so Eastern European and some of the various places around the world where they have been through this. They've come from countries that were either communist or went through a socialist issue, which we know happens all over, happening still right now in places where it's gone to this place where it goes weird. And yes, firearms are removed very early on in that process. So those people are, to be honest, ready to go to war, because they've been through it. They've been through this process. And that's one of the key ingredients with the lucky country of Australia is, no, we've been lucky because we've had resources, we've been lucky because of insulation, we've been lucky in various places, but we're so young. We're one of the youngest countries. We've never been through anything serious. We've gone off and got into other people's fights and killed a lot of ourselves, had a lot of our young men die in those places for other people's arguments. And we've done that with a lot of pride, but we've never actually had our own big fight. We've never actually had this point which could have created a true Bill of Rights, could have created things where we get people out of a desperate situation where hard times create strong men or good men, then smart men or women get into where they make smart decisions. We haven't been through that. And because of that, we've become, and because of the Western world's going, we've become extraordinarily complacent. Largely with the she'll be right isn't really what it is. It's more a case of common sense should sort this out. Common law should sort this out. There should be something that eventually does this. The lawyers, they should do this. You should start a class action. You should do this. There should be a law against that. There's all this sort of process rather than, in actual fact, the way I see a fix. There is a fix here. But waking people up, and it's not just waking people up. People have to do things. I suppose there's a couple of things. One that is really, really obvious. Everything we've done before, every way we've tried to do it before, every organisation that said it was going to do it before, everything from before has not worked. Wake up. It has not worked. So doing the same thing again and expecting a different result isn't that Einstein's definition of insanity? Well, yes, it is. It's stupid. Doing the same thing over again and expecting a different result, it's not going to happen. So we've got to do things differently. So what are we doing wrong? Well, my opinion on this, this is a pragmatic thoughts on what's actually happening, is our legal system in a lot of fashions is in bed with or part of or driven by our government system. So they are very much attached. And government is very good at making laws using our legal system to protect our government and to protect our legal system. So they're very good at protecting themselves. So you really think you can go along down that road? Well, you're asking the bad guys to sort out the bad guys in some fashions. Now, I'm not saying they're actually bad guys, but I am saying in the way of the citizens versus the government. Well, if we're the good guys, then yeah, there is a little bit of that side. Their vested interest is more in protecting themselves and their mates than it is in protecting us. Regardless of oaths or that type of thing, that is the business side of it. So how's that change anything of what we've got to do? Well, if we stop looking at government or I should say, our politics as a party thing where you've got to convince a politician to be on your side. Still very valuable, and I don't want to say the legal system isn't very valuable also. Using that and all the angles we can go there is a good thing. The government side of things, doing all that best way we can is a good thing. But even if you did those two things a lot, you haven't done enough. Because what you have to understand is if we start to look at the politics as the people thing. So what I'm talking about in some form or other is getting louder. That's the main thing we got to do. And different than we've done it before. Get louder. And that means the best way we can do that is a lot more coalitions, a lot more getting together. All the shooting groups get together. We're on the same fight. Yes, they've been here before. Yes, there's good organisations. There's organisations that don't seem to be so good. They're all doing the thing. They all exist because they're trying to do something constructive. If they stop fighting each other, it's a really, really important step on the way forward. But that's still just a tiny step. We're still just a tiny number of people being firearms. This isn't about firearms. We have to understand that thoroughly. This is not about firearms. It's about freedoms. It's about rights. It's about the future. It's about your kids. It's about your grandkids. It's about their kids, where this country's going. So where is very obvious what's going on is the likes of freedoms. So the likes of the four-wheel drivers, the likes of the fishers, the likes of the farmers, the likes of and all the different things that I can go through with it. And then firearms owners, hunters, whether it's sporting shooters, or it's recreational hunters, or conservation hunters, or it's target shooters of any form, or it's plinkers, or whatever it is actually about the logic of removing firearms rather than it just we want to go and shoot things. And that is the same logic with what is controlling the four-wheel drivers. It's the same logic which is what's controlling the farmers. And if that is a coalition, if we can really do that properly, where we can come together and actually then start to make a noise. And yes, well, I suppose I'll take this next step in explaining what actually happens by history when it comes to a democracy or a society where the government starts to tread on the neck of the civilians. What happens through history is it ends up, and I suppose societies last longer if they can go through more skirmishes. So it gets a bit wrong, they push it back, gets a bit wrong, they push it back, gets a bit wrong, they push it back, until it breaks down, until it finishes. Yes, normally that's a pretty horrible thing. That goes past civil war into a coup, into blood on the streets is where that goes. So what was the bits we want to do? We don't want to go to blood on the streets. We don't want to end up where it's that horrible place we've gone to. So what we have to do is push back now. Now look at the streets of France, looks at some of the streets, sometimes some of the stuff that's happening in America, probably the wrong way around to talk about that, but it's still the same thing. It's civil unrest. It says we the people aren't happy with what you're doing. Now that in Australia, and I hope I know it will start from a very small and decent and polite place, but we get together in the thousands and say we're not happy. If that, with enough of whatever else that is, but we can do things in the very civilized fashion that we West Australians or Australians want to do it, how we'd prefer to do it. If we can do that, along with the combination of the legal arrows, the legal attacks, the legal things we're actually trying to get the law to do the right thing, with the government things, so whether that's petitions and whether that's the review and the submissions that go with the review, whether that's getting the good guys to have more of a voice, then that's going to, my honest belief, if we do enough of that, then that will change things. That will change legal outcomes. That will change political outcomes, because the people become a problem. When it's getting louder, when it's getting more and more obvious, that's something that the people who want to get the votes have to think about. But it's also part of what our courts have to think about, because ultimately their decisions are still based on their determination of the situation. Now, if the people are really cranky, it's obvious that that can move the pendulum a little bit further towards the way of what the people are actually complaining about. So I suppose what I'm saying with all that sort of stuff is the people who say, listen, let's just do this, we should just hold them to account, or you can't do it because you never get away with the politics on that side of things, or the legal system, all the rest of it. Yes, you're both right in places, but we've not used it properly. We've not used it to bat for the people, because the people are silent. The likes of the political process, there's people who say, well, listen, we should just vote all the right people in. If we get all the right people in government, then we'll get it sorted out. Well, I think that's what everyone's trying to do all the time, isn't it? Get the right people voted in. You have a whole heap of Australians, as in most of the rest of the world, that are, let's say they drank the Kool-Aid. Let's say that they're not viewing it quite the way we see things. And that's where the government tends to be selling and getting all the votes from. So this doesn't mean that it needs to stay that way, but you need to wake them up. And that is where we, the people, are actually doing something. So if we do it thoroughly with the process of whether it's lobbying or it's talking to or doing the right things with the right side of government, and that's not smooching up to the wrong side of government in the way of making them look good. Yes, you could, I'm not saying don't talk to them, but please don't bring them into your club and make them look good. Give them the photo opportunity that they want to say, hey, we're doing the right thing. No, treat government the way they deserve to be treated. The good guys, talk to them, get on side, do that sort of stuff. The bad guys, try and hold them to account. The legal system, or the legal attacks, and the legal systems and the way we can do things and trying to get to whether it's an injunction, whether it's the various forms of legal actions or legal strategies, also very valuable. But unless the people make more noise, then that's the big thing that will, if they don't, I don't believe these things will work. The strategy I've heard is most likely to happen in the review situation that the government's going into is that they probably, regardless of how well the review team do their job, they'll put that to the government, and the government will make a couple of little adjustments to make themselves look good and just carry on. And are not doing anything in the middle of stopping things while this carnage is happening, which is also their ultimate game. But if the people get loud, while this is happening, lots of good things happening when they're trying to do on the government side of things, so there's lots of things starting there good. The legal things, there is happening things over the legal things, most of it's quiet like the legal system normally is, but if the people start to make a noise, if we start to do things, whether that's rallies, that's protests, that's whatever that is, and I'm not going to try and put the ideas into people's heads of what they should be, but a coalition of the people all getting together, stop the infighting in the firearms community. It's not about I did more, you didn't do as much, I'm more important. Get the egos out of it, people. Let's get together. This organisation that we've got coming, which is taking too long, I fully agree. They're doing it very thoroughly. But that organisation is with a structure which is not about the people that are doing it. It's about you. Get together. And that means get your club or your organisation, get your people to come over as well. Let's all be part of this. Let's all get in the same team. This is not an entity. It is going to be a not-for-profit entity, or organisation. So this will be something for you. That's what it is, where you get to stand up and you get to have your suggestion and you get to have your thoughts. That's what this is about. But to be honest, this conversation is not about this group. It's not a sale for this group. It's about a simple, pragmatic logic to getting to the other side of this. We've got to start to get louder. The sooner we get louder and the louder we get, hopefully the politer and the more civilized it can be. We don't want to see what this turns into with where the government's heading. We don't, as a population, don't want to see this. I'm sure there's entities on that side of the fence that hope to have us properly squashed before they make the nastier decisions, the nastier moves. Listen, they might find out the Aussies aren't quite as complacent as they think they are. Now's our time to really show that. Now's our time to show that in a polite and respectful but strong way. So loud and strong. I will let people have a thought about what they want to do there, be part of that side of things. But the answer is in at least 3 prongs to this attack and a whole heap of working together. A whole heap of people getting on the same side, get the ego out of it. And for you, stop waiting for a hero to do this. This is your job as much as it's mine and as much as the guy next to me and the guy next to him. So let's get together and let's see if we can work this problem. Anyway, guys, thanks for checking in. Hope it makes some sense. We'll catch you next time.